Hey you guys, I'm back and I wanted to make this video because I think it's an important topic and I know people have different views. I would like to get the discussion going and kind of give my own insight and perspective to this. So the topic of discussion is depression avoidable? Good question, right? Like, can we avoid depression by taking certain steps? And that's kind of where I'm coming from, because I do believe that depression is avoidable in many circumstances. Some are more serious than others. However, I believe that a lot of the mentality and a lot of the steps taken that kind of leads into, that emotional state of being can be avoided, or at least minimized, right? So I'm gonna give 4 of my best practices for mental and emotional health, because it's really important. It's really important that we are mentally stable, emotionally stable, and I definitely believe in spiritual stability, like the core 3. It's really important. So 4 basic questions that I ask myself when I'm starting to feel a little overwhelmed and I feel like it's kind of leading into that direction. I ask myself these 4 questions. Now, normally I come from a biblical perspective. I am Christian. If you don't already know that, now you know. However, I'm just gonna come from basic practices and kind of common sense. I'm not even gonna come from a biblical perspective, because I know a lot of people will try to use that against me if they aren't religious. But these are just kind of common sense best practices. So I like to evaluate my actions. I like to take a step back when I'm feeling mentally and emotionally just overwhelmed and oh my God, what is happening? She's about to blow. I evaluate my actions. I take a step back, I put the mirror in front of my face, and I try to figure out, okay, where did I go wrong? Sometimes we are victims of our circumstances, and sometimes we just do dumb things that has major consequences. So I like to just make sure that it's not me, or if it is me, checkmate. I need to check myself and kind of get back on track. Okay, so I'm not a big believer in medicating. I believe that the pharmaceutical company, in a huge way, is just a huge ripoff for a lot of different reasons. I'm not going to go into that. But I just believe that a lot of things are avoidable. I don't like being under the control of substances or having to take certain medications. When I had my daughter 9 months ago, I had a C-section, honey, and I just refused to just be drugged up. My nurse and doctor, they were so surprised as I was moving around, and I would tell them to cut in half my medications and to minimize it. I didn't want to be hung up on medicine. I don't want to be controlled by medicine or feeling loopy or just not myself. I want to be in control of my mind as much as possible. So with that being said, the first question I ask myself is, and I took some notes, am I making rational and reasonable decisions? I sit back and think about the place that I'm in that moment. and that I reflect back on my decisions and my actions. Like, was I reasonable in what I did or what I said or how I handled that situation? So depending on that response, after I'm honest with myself and I'm transparent with my own self, I kind of go from there. I can say yay or nay. Like, yeah, I was pretty reasonable in what I did. It was thought out. It wasn't a rash decision. It wasn't an emotional decision or irrational. It was very reasonable. And yeah, I make the best decision possible in that moment at that time. So depending on if it's yes or no, if it's no, then I take a step back. Like, okay, yeah, you was tripping when you did that, you know, or you reacted off of emotions, or you didn't really research and really think about the long-term consequences or effects of that decision. So that's very important. That's something that I always do. Number 2, I ask myself, am I repeating bad behaviors? Like, am I finding myself making the same decisions and the same mistakes over and over and over? And I don't even like to say mistakes. Like, the first time you do something, you know, and you didn't know, and it was like, oops, that was a mistake, I know better next time. But if you're constantly doing the same thing over and over, like, you're choosing to be a repeat offender. So I always ask myself, like, am I still doing the same dumb stuff that I was doing 2 months ago, 2 years ago? And I'm expecting something to change. Like, I'm expecting success or growth from this situation, and I haven't changed, you know, my mentality or the way that I'm handling this situation. That's a problem. We do a lot of dumb things sometimes. Like, some knowingly and some unknowingly. Like, you need to know, am I choosing to do the same dumb stuff over and looking up, and I'm in debt, or, you know, I'm with the same type of dude, or I'm choosing to be with the same type of guy, or I'm choosing to be with the same deadbeat guy, or, you know, it could be anything. It could be you choosing to continuously extend yourself with helping people and being support systems for people that don't want to support and help themselves. So that's a huge thing. I mean, there's so many ways that you can look into that, but just make sure that you're not making the same dumb decisions over and over and over, because it's going to be a repeat cycle. Okay? The third question I ask myself is, am I meditating on negative thoughts? A lot of times we sit and we find ourselves thinking and concentrating on the same negative thoughts. Like, we think of the worst case scenario, we think of the worst outcome, we pity ourselves, and we feel sorry for ourselves, and woe is me, or you're worried and you're stressing yourself out over things that you can't change, things that are outside of your control. You need to just relax and just let things play out. When they play out, or as they play out, then you can see how you can navigate through those different circumstances. But stressing yourself out about things that you cannot control is kind of crazy. And we find ourselves doing that. I have found myself doing that many times before I decided to use these best practices. And it's helped me so much. Like, I avoid depression, I avoid stress, I avoid losing my mind and my sanity by more so kind of controlling my thoughts, right? Because we can sit and we can meditate on negative things, or we can, you know, hope for the best and see our glasses as half full versus half empty. So that's a big thing of mine, is being positive, and even in the negative, and even when you don't necessarily see a way out, just have some hope. You know, just have some hope and some positivity, and just say, you know what, I don't know what's gonna happen, I don't know how this is gonna play out, but I'm just gonna be cool, and just go along for the ride, because it could be a lot worse. And a lot of people are going through a lot more serious situations and circumstances than we ourselves find ourselves in. So somebody's always going through something worse than you. And we just need to focus on those things and kind of be grateful for, even though I'm dealing with this, or I don't know how I'm going to get through this, I'm going to be as positive and hopeful as possible. Okay? And so the last question that I ask myself, have I reached out to my support system? So I have a support system. If you don't have a support system, or if you're not sure if you have a support system, you should kind of figure that out. Because it's really important that you have somebody that you can confide in, that you can trust, and that can help you and be that voice of reasoning for you, and kind of allow you to see your situation outside of your own perspective. Because a lot of times as we're going through what we're going through as the worst thing that can possibly happen. Oh my God, what am I going to do? My life is over. Having somebody else to allow you to see a different perspective is always critical and important. And making sure that you have people, or even if it's one person that you can trust and talk to and kind of vent to, and they can help you get through these things. Because the worst thing you want to be when you're going through things that you don't understand, and you don't understand how to get through it, is to go through it alone. So that's really important, because that can lead you into a downward spiral. So you always want to make sure that you have some type of support system in place that you can go to and say, hey, listen, talk to me. I'm very close with my family, first and foremost. Before anybody, I go to God and I talk to Him. This is my doing, okay? And then I go to my husband, and then I have family. Sometimes certain things in a marriage, we work through our things, or if it's a situation between he and I, then I'll go to God, and then we'll work through it and talk through it. But if it's a situation where it's like, okay, I need to talk to somebody outside of God and my husband, then I have other people in place that are there to support me, and they're not going to be biased. That's another important thing. Your support system needs to be a support system that's honest with you. Be very loving and caring and gentle, but be honest with you and not biased and not telling you what you want to hear and what's going to stroke your ego. You need to know the truth. You need to know facts. You need to see yourself outside of yourself. And a good support system will do just that. So let's just rewind. Again, I'll just repeat my best practices. The first thing I do, I always evaluate my actions, and that's what leads me into these 4 basic questions. Am I making rational and reasonable decisions? Am I repeating bad behaviors? 2, am I meditating on negative thoughts? And number 4, have I reached out to my support system? So these 4 steps, my best practices, keep me sane, honey. It keeps peace in my heart, peace in my mind, joy in my heart, and it works for me. And this may not work for you, but I wanted to share my best practices, because if I can help somebody else navigate through their situations, then I want to do that. Because I just think that it's important prior to us looking to even just, paying for counseling or going to doctors and being medicated. Like, let's just kind of reel this in first. Let's try this first. Sometimes those things are necessary. However, I have my own personal thoughts and opinions about some of those things. But first things first, let me check myself. And that's basically what I do, because I want to make sure that I am avoiding depression by any means necessary. I can avoid it by making clear, reasonable, rational decisions. I'm not repeating the same dumb decisions and dumb actions that are leading me into a stressful, very tumultuous and frustrating lifestyle. I'm not meditating on negative things. I'm being positive, and I'm reaching out to people that I know love and care about me and have my best interests at heart. I'm going to do those things, and it has worked wonders for me. So if I can help somebody else, then that's the purpose of this video and sharing my best practices for avoiding depression. So I hope this has helped you, or even given you a little bit of insight on, you know, just how you deal with your own personal situations and circumstances. And I just challenge you to just try it. You know, if you find yourself always depressed, or you find yourself being one of the people, or find yourself saying, hey, I kind of see myself in some of what she's saying, just try it and see if it works for you. It has helped me so much, just taking that accountability, taking a step back and looking at me and saying, honey, get your life. You need to get your life together. This is what's wrong, honey. You just need to get your life all the way together, okay? And then maybe some of this crazy stuff will stop happening. I'm not saying this is the case for every situation and every person, but I'm saying for myself, doing these things and asking these questions and making sure that I'm practicing, you know, these steps has just helped me so much, because depression is just running rampant, you know, especially in the United States. People are suicidal, they're killing themselves, they're medicating themselves with drugs and alcohol, or, you know, toxic relationships. And, you know, a lot of it can be avoided if we just check ourselves and we just make sure that we are being the best person that we can be and making the best decisions that we can to live a healthy and successful lifestyle. So that's all I have for you today for this video. I'll try my best. I want to make videos at least once a week. So just if you guys enjoyed, you know, you can subscribe. I'm not really here to get a ton of subscribers and all of that. I just want to help people as much as possible. But if you want to subscribe or like or comment on the video, feel free. Until next time, honey.